Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Amma ba'd, ahabati fillah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As'alallah kareem, Rabbil arshil azim yatawallana fi dunya wal akhirah. A question was asked, I'm waiting for the help of Allah regarding nikah. A man should marry a woman with good religion and whom he finds attractive for lawful marital relations to fulfill his desires in accordance to Allah's Sharia. Allah can bestow that fulfillment, and I hope it for every believer. I really long for it myself. So I don't know whether this is a male or female, but first and foremost, I didn't see much of a question, but I think it is directed to finding a spouse. And we've talked about that extensively on numerous occasions, that it's very important to find someone, as a Prophet ﷺ mentioned, a woman is married for four things, and one of those things, and the thing that he sallallahu alaihi wasallam reminded us of, and was the most important of those affairs, is for the religion. And also, a person is married obviously for their beauty and their status, and their wealth, and those are from our natural inclination and state and well-being. However, it's very important to make the important balance, and that means that you are putting the religion first and you are putting something else secondary. And what I mean by that, ahabatifillah, for example, if a woman is used to, and the fuqaha have talked about this, if a woman is used to a particular lifestyle, she comes from a wealthy family, and a suitor comes to her who is good in religion, but he cannot maintain the lifestyle that she wishes. She's used to that from her father's home. Then under those circumstances, if that's what is very important to her, to also have that lifestyle to such a strong extent, then she then could choose not to marry, because it doesn't make sense for her to go into poverty. And that's in accordance with how the scholars, the fuqaha, have deduced from the divine text. And they call it kafa'a, having the suitability, if you will. And the kafa'a, the suitability, is not always some of the scholars, the fuqaha and the classical scholars, they actually talked about whether someone was Arab and non-Arab, and they're from tribe and this tribe. But those things really do not meshi. They don't go within the nusus of the Quran and the Sunnah. But you do, what we can take from that is the importance of a type of compatibility. So if you have, for example, one person, they're an adventurer, they jump off mountains and stuff like this, and then you have another person, and they both are, inshallah ta'ala, good in the deen, but there just isn't a compatibility in lifestyle. Like, it's just almost impossible to work for the one who is adventuring so much in their life. Even if they compromise, that they're just on total polar opposites, then they need to consider that before engaging in marriage. And likewise, as I mentioned, because we've seen this from tatbiq, we've seen many people who have married, and they married because they thought it was something for the deen. And I believe a lot of those scenarios were for the deen, that, they were so impressed. They're in a Muslim land. Oh, I married a half of the Quran, but she doesn't speak English, and he speaks English as his first mother tongue, and they only have Arabic as their common language. And at the same time, he is not good and competent in Arabic. And a lot of times there's so many cultural things and other things to consider. And unfortunately, I've seen many times where those marriages did not, become fruitful, meaning maybe they divorced even after having kids. Why? And really, ultimately, it came to a lack of compatibility, because the lack of compatibility and maybe religiosity, changing and in flux. So that's why it's very important to consider those things that the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned. All of those things. That doesn't mean you have to have someone, they have to be rich, they have to have a status, they have to have this. No, but if being attracted to someone is something very important to you, which most of us, as men especially, this is the case, and even women, I would say, in many scenarios, that it's very important that you consider those things because you're actually getting married. It's not just like some abstract thing that we read in the text, but rather the kitab and sunnah are applicable to our lives, and they're actually the real reality. And that does not mean we just go out and we think we can live like someone else did, because one of the Salaf did this. You have to deal with your own heart. You have to deal with your own iman, and you want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to put the mawadda and rahmah, the love and the mercy in your heart. But that is not always the case. And like I said, I've known many people who are students of knowledge. Most of the people that I know, honestly, in my travels, mostly are going to be people who are on the journey that I was on. I met them in Yemen. I met them in Saudi and stuff like this. And I've known many who've had this experience. They've married and there was total incompatibility except for the deen, which is the most important thing. But yet they needed more fibers to keep them over the long term, because people fall in and out of love and people change and many factors come in. So it helps. And let me give you an example. This is a real example we've talked about in the past. So the example I want to mention, ahabati fillah, is that there are times when, for example, the people cannot grow together. They grow in separate directions. And when you lose that mercy and that mawadda, that mercy and that love, this can cause the marriages to break down. So it's so important to feed a marriage and know and understand the compromise. And so we cannot exclude one thing for something else, meaning your feelings, your emotions, those things are going to come into play, even if you married someone for deen. So it's very important to take the whole picture and find that some links of compatibility, that there is a source of attraction. So the example, I lost thought and now I recall, the example is that there are those who marry sometimes a woman, she's good in conduct, but she's not necessarily strong in her understanding of the deen or something like this. But she's going to do her basic duties. She has her shortcomings and stuff. But as we say in our Ammiya, our street language, she's banging, meaning she's very pleasing to look at. He is pleased. He is happy. He wants to run and jump over, do a backflip to get home. This is also very important for a lot of men. And we're going to have this very serious conversation, because if she has the beauty and some of the deen, we're talking about a combination. I'm not saying she's beautiful and no deen. No, we already know the devastation, the destruction because of that. But I'm talking about she's beautiful. She's beautiful in the sight of the brother, or vice versa. He's handsome to the sight to the wife, and at the same time, there is, the religiosity is good. It's some general, that the person is trustworthy, the person prays, the person, is respectable in their deen. Then this can be a source of glue and also repairing when there is problems in the marriage. And what I mean is, so for example, if they're fighting, but if she has those things he enjoys, then simply her look and her appearance when he comes home from work, the negligee, the whatever that he enjoys, the pole, I don't care what he has that he enjoys in his home, in his halal fashion, then this is something that smooths it over. It makes things smooth. And likewise, if the man, and I know scenarios of particular brothers, obviously I can't mention them, that are beloved to me, that have more than one wife. And it's even been mentioned to me and relayed to me from those sources that because he is like a bodybuilder, he's, he's on swole, that, that helps to smooth over for the wives, that they give some patience, because that's important to them. They enjoy a man who has all that physical strength and appearance and that manliness, and he's also going to step up and protect them. That's an important trait for those women. So it's very important determining what is your attraction along with the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is the most important thing. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Almighty, to accept our good and forgive our evil, protect us all from kulli su' makruh, wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad.